Random House Audiobooks presents The Tailor of Panama by John le Carré. Read for you by the author.
The Tailor of Panama. Written and read by John le Carré. It was a perfectly ordinary Friday afternoon in tropical Panama, until Andrew Osnard barged into Harry Pendel's shop, asking to be measured for a suit. When he barged in, Pendel was one person. By the time he barged out again, Pendel was another. Total time elapsed 77 minutes, according to the mahogany-cased clock by Samuel Collier of Eccles, one of the many historic features of the House of Pendel and Braithwaite Company, Limitada, tailors to royalty, formerly of Savile Row, London, and presently of the Via España, Panama City. The day began prompt at 6, when Pendel woke to the solid male voice of Armed Forces Radio. "I wasn't there. It was two other blokes. She hit me first, and it was with her consent, Your Honour," he informed the morning, because he had a sense of impending punishment, but couldn't place it. Then he remembered his 8:30 appointment with his bank manager, and sprang out of bed at the same moment that his wife, Louisa, howled, "No, no, no," and pulled the sheet over her head, because mornings were her worst time. "The general in charge of U.S. Southern Command last night again insisted that the United States will honor its treaty obligations to Panama both in the principle and in the deed," the newsreader proclaimed, with male majesty. "It's a con, darling," Pendel called, lathering soap on his face. "The Panamanian president has today arrived in Hong Kong for the start of his 2-week tour of Southeast Asian capitals. He is accompanied by a team of the country's economic and trade experts. Here we go, here's your boss," including his forward planning advisor on the Panama Canal, Dr. Ernesto Delgado. On Monday, the presidential party will continue to Tokyo for substantive talks aimed at increasing Japanese investment in Panama, said the newsreader. "And those geishas aren't going to know what hit them," said Pendel, at which Louisa sat up with a bump. "Why can't Panama invest in Panama?" she complained. "Well, you know what they say, dear. Panama's not a country, it's a casino, and we know the boys who run it. You work for one of them, don't you?" "No, Harry, I do not. I work for Ernesto Delgado, and he is not one of them. Ernesto is a straight arrow. He has ideals. He cherishes Panama's future as a free and sovereign state in the community of nations." Louisa got out of bed and yanked her nightdress over her head. She was tall and long-waisted, with the high breasts of a sportswoman, and beautiful, as long as she forgot to stoop. "Just one good man, Harry. That's all it takes to make this country work. Just one good Christian ethical man who can fix the roads and the drains and the poverty and the crime and the drugs, and preserve the canal and not sell it to the highest bidder. It does not behove you or anybody else to speak ill of him." Dressing quickly, Pendel hastened to the kitchen. The Pendels, like everyone else who was middle class in Panama, kept a string of servants, but an unspoken puritanism dictated that the master of the family make breakfast. Poached egg on toast for Mark, bagel and cream cheese for Hannah, and passages by heart from the Mikado, quite pleasantly sung because Pendel loved his music. Then a helter-skelter of recrimination and farewells, as Louisa, dressed but late for work at the Panama Canal Administration Building, leaps for her Peugeot, and Pendel and the kids take to the Toyota and set off on the school rat run. Left, right, left, down the steep hillside to the main road, Hannah eating her bagel, Mark wrestling with homework in the bouncing four-track, and Pendel saying, "Sorry about the rush today, gang. I got a bit of an early powwow with the money boys." Then a spurt on the wrong carriageway, courtesy of the morning operativo that allows city-bound commuters to use both lanes. Then pandemonium while Pendel rummages for a spare quarter to give the black boy selling roses at the lights. Side roads now. It's Mark's turn to be dropped first. Join the stinking inferno of Manuel Espinosa Batista, pass the National University, sneak a wistful glance at the leggy girls in white shirts, acknowledge the wedding cake glory of the Del Carmen Church, Good Morning God, and take your life in your hands across the Via España, duck into Via Israel, on to San Francisco, go with the flow to Paitilla Airport, good morning again to the ladies and gentlemen of the drugs trade, who account largely for the rows of pretty private aeroplanes parked among the trash. But rein back now, a little caution, please, please. The rash of anti-Jewish bombings has not passed unnoticed. Those hard-faced young men at the gate mean business, so watch your manners. Mark hops out. No demonstrations of affection allowed, not even a flap of the hand, lest it be misinterpreted by his peers as wistful longing. Then back into the fray, the frustrated shriek of police sirens, the grunt and grind of bulldozers and power drills, all the mindless hooting, farting and protesting of a third-world tropical city that can't wait to choke itself to death. Back to the beggars and cripples and the sellers for hand towels, flowers, drinking mugs and cookies, crowding you at every traffic light. Then clear water at last, as we race on up the hill at full speed to the Maria Inmaculada, with its powdery-faced nuns fussing around the yellow school buses in the forecourt. Señor Pendel, buenos dias! And buenos dias to you, Sister Piedad, and to you too, Sister Imelda. Hannah, who is plump, gives her father a pulpy kiss, and wanders off in search of Sarah, who is this week's cellmate, while a smiling, very fat policeman with a gold wristwatch looks on like Father Christmas. And nobody makes anything of it, Pendel thinks in near contentment, as he watches her disappear into the crowd. One Jewish boy, except he's not. One Catholic girl, except she's not either. And for all of us, it's normal. After which, in the sweetness of his own company, Pendel rejoins the highway and switches on his Mozart. A dozen ships float in ghostly line above the invisible horizon, burning up dead time while they wait to enter the canal. In a leap of empathy, Pendel endures the tedium of life on board. No more dead time for me, thank you, he promises himself with a shudder. Never again. To his right, the United States Embassy rolls by, larger than the presidential palace, larger than the Legislative Assembly, larger even than his bank, but not, at this moment, larger than Louisa. I'm too grandiose, he explains to her, as he descends into the bank's forecourt. If I wasn't so grandiose in my head, I'd never be in the mess I'm in now. I'd never have seen myself as a landed baron, and I'd never be owing a mint I haven't got, and I'd stop sniping at Ernie Delgado and anybody else you happen to regard as Mr. Morally Impeccable. Reaching into the back of the car, he removes his jacket from its hanger. He has selected dark blue, slips it on, and adjusts his Denman and Goddard tie in the driving mirror. A stern boy in uniform guards the great glass entrance. He nurses a pump-action shotgun and salutes everyone who wears a suit. Don Eduardo, Monsignor, how are we today, sir? Pendel cries in English, flinging up an arm. The boy beams in delight. Good morning, Mr. Pendel, he replies. It's all the English he knows. For a tailor, Harry Pendel is unexpectedly physical. He has a heavy chest and the thick sloped shoulders of a boxer, yet his walk is statesmanlike and disciplined. His hands, at first curled lightly at his sides, linked themselves primly behind the sturdy back. But it was in the face, which at 40 he deserves, that the zest and pleasure of the man were most apparent. A sturdy, unrepentant innocence shone from his baby blue eyes. His mouth, even in repose, gave out a warm and unobstructed smile. To catch sight of it unexpectedly was to feel a little better. It's regarding the rice farm, Ramon Rudd explained wearily. Ramon Rudd was plump as well as short, with a dark blue jaw and blue-black sideburns and greedy bright eyes. His office had steel-lined bullet-proof doors of rainforest teak and a desk the size of a tennis court. Ramon Rudd owed Pendel $10,000 for 5 suits. Pendel owed Rudd $150,000. As a gesture, Ramon was adding the unpaid interest to the capital, which was why the capital was growing. Why are you paying a lawyer so much money? Rudd asked after a 2-minute silence. He said he was going to...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?